Welcome, everybody, to the Northbound Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Neubig, and today we have Nik Boone, founder, broker, owner of Ascend Property Management. They are managing over 1,500 doors and 500 homes sold, and a incredible reputation for industry innovation. He's also earned prestigious accolades, including 30 under 30. I can't remember that far back, honestly, Nick. Showing my age here. 30 under 30, Inc. 5000, and the Bakersfield, California Best of 2024. He's committed to professionalism, community, and client success. Ascend continues to set the standard in real estate services, delivering tailored solutions that make every transaction seamless and stress-free. Nick, thanks so much for being here today, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
All right. So we talked in the green room, and you started your business basically from scratch, built it to 1,500 units. So let's talk a little bit about the early days. How'd you get started in it? And then I want to talk about your growth and and I want to really focus on how you grew the business. But let's get started. Like, how'd you get started in property management?
Yeah. So I was going to this, and people love when I tell the story. It's pretty cool. So I was going to college. I was going to community college. I was actually pre-med at a community college, if you can be, and I needed to pay for classes, and it was like a 20-minute drive. So gas was $5 a gallon. I needed to pay for gas and books and all this stuff. And my mom did loans at the time, or she still does now, but I was like, hey, I need something to do that works with my school that I can do. She's like, get your real estate license. Like, all right. So I got my real estate license while going to school, sold a house, and I was like, all right, hook me up. Like
That was
this is pretty
cool. I
good.
like this commission, especially
Yeah.
selling a house in California. That's got to be pretty decent size commission.
It was at the bottom of the market. I looked it up actually because we just celebrated our 10-year company and business. The check was like $800. But I remember, because after broker's fees and all, yeah, I was like, I just made $800 on one deal. It was a foreclosure. It took 6 months, like my dollar per
Basically,
hour.
your hourly rate was pretty low.
But I got the 800. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. So then I'm like, all right, still selling, still trying to build a book of business. I'm 18, 19. So, I'm trying to basically convince people to use me to buy a house, which was tough because I looked like an 18-year-old. So I'm showing some clients one day, and I get a call from an area code 310. It's basically like Beverly Hills, LA. And I answered it, and he's like, "Hey, I'm an investor from LA." And I was like, "Awesome." He's like, I drove down to Bakersfield. I was supposed to meet somebody. He isn't answering my call. He's not meeting up with me, but I see your listing. Like, can you show me this house? And I was like, yeah, like I was hungry. I was like, that house is in escrow. I can show you another one in the part called Oildale. And these were like 40, 50, $60,000 houses. And he's like, can you meet me in the next hour? I was like, yep. So I go to the office. I printed 20 houses, showed him a couple. I'm in this beat up truck, 19 years old. He shows up in a brand new A8 Audi, like just typical like LA like vibe. So I walk him through this little, just I don't want to swear on your podcast, but bad house. And we walked through, and he's like, yeah, I like it. And I was like, okay, totally forgot to ask you, like, have you been pre-qualified? And he's like, actually, I'm going to be paying cash. And I was like, this guy has 50 grand cash. Like, that's unheard. I've never even heard of that much cash. Like, this guy's a billionaire. This is crazy. So we end up, uh, we end up making a couple of offers. He buys two houses for 40, 50 grand. Again, $600 commission check, like not a lot of money. And he goes, hey, I'm basically renting these out. Like, can you help? And I'm very transparent day one. I think that's been a big help. I was like, I barely know how to sell a house. I have no clue how to rent a house. I live with my parents. I don't even know how to rent a house myself. I don't know any of this. Like, this is very adult, and I'm not there.
I'm not adulting yet.
I'm not adulting yet. And so he goes, honestly, I don't know the first thing about it either. Do you want to learn together? I was like, sure. As long as you keep buying houses from me, I'll learn whatever you need me to. So the very first lease, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
The very first lease, my things are messing up. He drives from LA, and we sign a lease in a donut shop. just we Googled the lease, tried to figure it out. The tenant paid in cash. We were at this donut shop in this terrible part of town, and and that was our first lease. And so he drove back to LA and he called me. He's like, "Hey, we did it." And I was like, "Cool." And he goes, "Do you want to like how much do you want to charge me?" And I was like, "I'm not going to charge you anything. Just keep buying houses and I'll manage them for free and go from there."
Oh boy.
So he's like, "Okay, great." And keep in mind, they're in terrible parts of town. Like
Yeah,
conditions are terrible.
it's not easy management. Yeah.
No, no. So he ends up buying, fast forward quite a while, he ends up buying 100 houses from me.
Holy moly, he is a billionaire.
He basically was a little mini REIT. He raised some funds, bought some houses. I didn't know any of this at the time. And so I'm a couple years later, I'm going to college full time. I'm managing all of his rentals, which he has about 40 at the time.
Are you
I'm still
charging him yet at this point?
no,
Okay.
I'm still selling him houses. We used to use MapQuest and it went A through Z, and I couldn't use MapQuest anymore because we had more than 26 houses to look at in a day. So I mean, I like just with him, he was a full-time client, plus management, plus college, plus I had other clients. So I was my like 20, 21 days were like I was just workhorse. So I'm at this point, I'm like, hey dude, I'm still happy to help you. I have no time. I can't even do schoolwork. Like it's just crazy. And he goes, well, hire an assistant and I'll pay you what she costs. I was like, awesome. So I was charging him like 25 bucks a month per door, basically paid for the assistant. And then a year goes by, she was TCing files that he would buy plus management. She's like, hey, everything's leased. I have no maintenance, which is this is the nicest property management's ever been, by the
How
way. and she, and she goes, I don't have anything to do. And I was like, well, we can be a property management company, or I think it's time to just give that away and just focus on sales. But I think we're at this divide of, what do we want to do? So we actually interviewed some property managers. We went through that route, and the investor, my friend, and I kind of agreed. We were like, not great talent, not to knock anybody at that time, but there was just not a great pool of property managers. So I was like, all right, let's just do it. First year we grew 100 doors. Next year we grew to 300 doors, and then it just kind of kept snowballing from there. So that was really like the foundational days of I really have no clue what I'm doing to now we're a property management company.
I think there's a lesson to be learned there. Like you didn't, you didn't charge him anything right off the bat. You didn't know enough, and so you literally, sweat equity to learn a skill in a business, which ended up being, 1,500 units is nothing to sneeze at now. I mean, you're running a really good business, and you learned a lot of that stuff. I'm assuming at some point you flipped him over and he did pay some management fees, or did you always just let him like, hey, just pay for the assistant because you got me started?
He has been increased twice. He is still so far under market rate, and he's still with me. He lives in Vegas now. He moved from LA. I see him when I go to. I'll be in Vegas a couple months. I'll see him then. Like just super friendly. He was advising me like through college. He was at my college graduation. He was at my wedding. Like really, really foundational guy for the business.
I got to ask you, do you own any properties?
Yeah,
You do. Okay.
that was another. Yeah, that was another big wealth factor. Um, and I can talk about that if you want. So when I just
I'm
graduated.
I'm just always surprised how many property management company owners don't own any properties. I'm always
Great.
surprised on that. Yeah. So anyway, so he became a mentor for you,
Yeah.
and he's still a customer 10 years later.
Yeah.
Um, wow. Okay. So let's talk a lot like we're in the green room. We wanted to talk a little bit about like your growth, right? So I mean, I'm guessing he doesn't have 1,000 homes with you. I'm guessing he's probably got 100, maybe 150, 200 homes with you now. So you had to grow that property management firm. What are you like? If someone's listening to this and they say, "Man, I'm having trouble growing my business," where have you seen the most success? What do you think are the best ways to grow your business?
It's changing. So 10 years ago, I thought, and I call myself very dumb because I just think very like practically. I don't, we're not like KPI driven. Like we need to focus on this minute IT detail. 10 years ago I said, "Hey, there's two ways we get business. People either know us, which we're brand new, so they're not going to. People refer us business, which we haven't been in business long enough to be quality, or like what would I do?" And I said, I would Google property management Bakersfield and I would go with who looks great. Like what I do for a restaurant or what I do for like that's what I would do as a person. So I literally just hammered that keyword. I looked I when I would look at companies, I was like, well, what am I looking for? Great reviews, tons of reviews, highly rated, and I just crushed reviews. I crushed keyword searches. And this is before like SEO is super well known now, obviously. This was before it was like a hot topic of SEO. And I just organically was trying to get tons of reviews from people and would literally ask people like, hey, this means a lot. We're not charging much. Please leave me a review. Like it helps me out. And so quickly we jumped to number one, like reviewed most property management company by far. So
So
that was
that
it.
gives you, yeah. So, all right. So that worked back then. Also, because a lot of people weren't doing it, you probably got to property management Bakersfield pretty quickly, probably less than a year. I can tell you in Houston, it took me almost 2 years to get to that top
Yeah.
with playing the SEO game, and we were working hard at it. You don't just mess up, put some keywords in your back in your on your website. You got to create blogs and videos, and you get on the Google my
Right.
business page, and you got to do all the hard work that it takes. A lot of people just say, "Oh, SEO, I'll hire a company. They'll do 4 blogs for me, and I'll get on the front page." It didn't work back then, even 10 years ago. Definitely doesn't work today. The second thing that I heard you say is getting great Google reviews. That basically creates a trust factor.
Yeah.
So tell me, a lot of people say getting Google reviews. How did you guys do it? When is the best time to get a Google review? And does it still work today that it did, a few years back?
Yeah. I mean, so 10 years ago, we were talking about Google reviews. I had a meeting yesterday talking about Google reviews. I mean, it is not something that has gone away. We're constantly trying to figure out the best time. And, now we're at a point where we have companies that help us hone in on Google reviews and ask for certain times. And so we still, yesterday's meeting was when are people the happiest? When are we satisfying them the most? What is a triggering event where they say, this was a great experience? And this is 10 years later, we're still trying to determine like
Nick,
because
right there, if you're listening to this, right there that was a gold nugget right there. When do you get a good review? When people are the happiest, when they have
yeah,
a great experience. And then you have people that actually work for you that help get good reviews. So when I owned Empire, we did something very similar, and I want you to expand on this here in a little bit. But we use our virtual team members, our remote team members. Part of their job was like to follow up and get Google reviews, and then we bonus them if they got a Google review, and then we bonus them more if they got their name in the Google review. So talk about some of the happy points that you guys identified.
um at the beginning we really didn't. So at the very beginning, we just said, hey, I'm gonna call everybody. I'm gonna see if they're happy. If they're happy, I'm gonna ask for a review. If they're unhappy, I'm gonna see how I can make them happy. But very rudimentary, like get on the phone, start asking, are they happy? Yes. Here's a link. Cool. You didn't have to say anything, but just leave me something. Now we're fairly complex with it in that regard. We have systems that, when an owner onboards with us because they've seen our reviews and they're excited to have property management, right when we get them a tenant, did you have a great experience? What were you happy with the onboarding of Ascend? We rented it out quickly. Like, has everything met your expectations? Same
Is
thing with
that now,
tenant.
is that getting an auto email or is that a phone call still?
Yeah, everything's super automated now.
Everything's
Um,
automated. All right. So, and if they give you a bad review, it doesn't go online, right? It just goes into your kind of your back end customer satisfaction. So let me talk about this. What do you do when you get a neutral or bad review?
Most of the time, we have a pulse on why.
Okay.
If somebody is unhappy, my staff typically knows either this person is just fundamentally unhappy as a person, which they exist,
You do?
and they rent properties, believe it or not. And
I think you're
and
telling me,
those,
hey Pete, we don't get neutral bad reviews.
yeah.
Sucker.
Uh, so most of the time we'll have a beat on it. If it's something where we just have no clue, we'll call them, we'll ask them, we'll message them back, kind of see what's going on. But
Do you know what you guys are using for to manage the reviews?
bird eye,
Bird Eye?
yeah,
Okay. All right. So let's talk about on the owner side. So when you get the property rented, you're actually asking the owner for a review. You have a pretty good, and then if they give you a neutral review or a negative review, either A, you know it's negative Nancy, she's never going to give us a good review, or B, it's positive Pete, and that should have went well. Is there a phone
yeah,
call at that point?
yeah, yeah. My manager will always call any negative reviews from tenants, from owners, from anybody. If it's a negative review, we're finding out why. If
Okay.
she can't get them to be at minimum neutral, she's very, very good. Negative Nancy. It's let's stop spinning our wheels. There's nothing we can do. And I've had conversations with and this may not surprise you, but it might. Owners have been upset that we have rented properties too fast. They wanted more time. They thought that it would take longer. Things where you're like, people would crush, like they would love to have it. Like, I cannot believe you're unhappy with this. This is crazy.
The only time I've seen that is when they say, "Oh, if it rented so quick, we should have charged more," which is just kind of a weird way to think of things, like, "Oh, you didn't charge enough. The rent was too low." That's the only time I've ever had any pushback on something got done really quick. Just this real quick, what are some other trigger points that you guys look at to then ask for the review? So, lease renewal, do
For
you?
owners,
For owners, yeah, for owners. Do you do it on a maintenance, like when a maintenance ticket is done, or they don't even know about it? You just do it out on the resident side.
we're working on the owners for maintenance. The residents get that form when the maintenance order is completed.
Mhm.
We're really, really good about maintenance um, for two reasons. One, everything's internal. So the guy that goes out there works for Ascend.
Okay.
So we're a licensed contractor. We have employees on payroll that all they do is maintenance. So I want to know how they're doing. One, two, if something breaks and I send somebody out, that's a profit center for the company. So I want to make sure that they're doing great, that they're being timely, they're getting out to the next job quickly. Like, we're all of that's also tracked like pretty heavily with our guys.
And do you guys get a lot of reviews, a lot of positive reviews based on your maintenance? Because yeah, it's all in-house, so you control it more. Hmm.
And if I need to eat costs or I need to send somebody out or change schedule, like it, when we started it, it was not even considered as a profit part. So when I started that, it was actually for the investor that I spoke about earlier. And I hired two guys. I said, hey, I'm going to charge you basically what they're charging me for payroll plus workers' comp and $5 an hour, like nothing. And he's like, okay, like, yeah, I want the control. Like, hey, this job doesn't matter as much as this job. Go over here. This one's flood.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how we started there.
That's a whole other show that I maybe get you back on at some point. We could talk about, in-house maintenance versus third party. And I'll be more than happy to debate you on that because I had in-house about 10 months, lost $22,000, went back to third party and found a way to monetize that. But let's kind of focus on your growth because I'm really intrigued by your
Yeah,
growth. So so again, so you SEO, what do you like? So that was 10 years ago. You guys worked hard on that. What do you think is next? Like, as no one knew about, not a lot of people knew about SEO 10 years ago.
yeah,
What's the new thing that you think people, have an opportunity to really get found, if you will?
yeah. Big buzzword, AI. So
Oh, never heard of it.
Chat GPT, Gemini. We don't have anything with Grok, but so on Google, like we next to none. 1,300 reviews, 4.6, and you know this. Very few people say, "Hey, my property manager is doing a great job. I'm going to leave a good review." So to have that many with 4 points, like it's been a 10-year grind. So super proud of that. But on chat, that is just one factor of many that they look at. And so right, right now we're in the midst of like, how is our online presence all over? And so we're looking at directories we have. So Zillow, we have um, an account that somebody made us that's a logo from 10 years ago that has one bad review from a tenant from 10 years ago. But chat sees it and says, "Hey, this is the company. Yeah, they look cool on Google. They look terrible on this one from 10 years ago."
Wow.
And so we're trying to like basically
It's a more
tell them
holistic approach, huh?
it is. Yeah.
I will tell you this, for VPM solutions, we got two leads because of ChatGPT last month or this month.
Huh.
Yeah. So the point is that people are starting to use chat
Oh
to
yeah.
find, property management companies to find folks. One of the things I heard, I interviewed Matt Spear. I highly recommend if you listen to this to go find that one. If when it yeah, it'll be out before Nick's. Go. He created. He actually owns the URL propertymanagement.com, and he's actually creating kind of like the Carfax for property management firms. And so one of the things that AI likes is a third party company that gives you kind of like a rating system. And so he's betting on AI, just like you, Nick, to basically create this for property management firms. And he's got a whole process, so that you can get like a scorecard. So I'll actually connect you with him after we do this deal. All right.
I
So,
just cut him a check for a lot of money to be on there. So
oh, okay. So you're
uh,
so you're on the propertymanager.com. So cat's out of the bag now. Sorry, I'm probably giving that a trade.
no, we actually so we're very heavily into the AI like race right now because again, I think when you think of a property manager, like if you close your eyes and think, you're not picturing a 33-year-old property manager. You're picturing somebody that's been doing it for 30 years, that's kind of like, hey, this is, we still use Excel to do this. And that's a little bit changing, but those property managers that have been in the business for 20 years, they're not thinking about AI. They have their clients, they're trying to make their clients happy on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, they could grow, but if their friend sends them something, they'll grow.
Now, the group listening to us today, the NARPM group, they are professional property managers. They're the top 1%, and they're
Yeah,
looking at AI. But
yeah,
the other 95%, 99% of folks, especially the ones that do mom and pop and they just kind of do it on the side, they're never going to invest in the technology and the AI. And I think you're right. That's a huge differentiator between professional property managers and just
yeah.
regular property managers. Um, okay, so let's put on your mentorship consultant hat on. If someone's listening to this and they are having a hard time getting noticed, what are two or three things that you would recommend? Because SEO still is the king, right? I mean, the AI hasn't really, it's coming, but it's in its infancy, and not a lot of people are adopting it just yet to find people. But if I'm having trouble, like what are a couple of things that I can do to really, other than Google reviews, which is great, but to get noticed and be found?
I think so rudimentary and it's worked for me. I don't know if it'll work for everybody. I think about like who is hiring property managers?
Who's
Somebody that has,
who's your ICP, right? Who's your,
yeah,
yep.
who is that? Mine, we certainly now get investors with 10 properties, 20 properties that come to us. A lot of our owners are mom and pop owners, and they Google property management Bakersfield or they look at it, and that's who our client has been because that's how they find us. If you're looking for like an owner that has an apartment, why are they even considering looking for you? Like you have to find out why somebody would even switch. Like I talked about the happy trigger, like somebody's happy, leave a review. What's a trigger for them to switch property managers? Why would they look? How would they look? all of that information is kind of what I think about as just a normal person. And that's really what I hone in on. You know,
Okay,
if I
so
get,
let's say I get that. I get the pain points of my ICP, my ideal client profile, and I really do. What's the next step? Is it keywords? Is it creating some videos? Is it creating blogs? All of the above?
yeah, I mean, it really depends on who your client is, but all of those work. Um, if it's a mom and pop owner, then yeah, absolutely SEO. We do postcards now, pretty ineffective. Like if I get a postcard in the mail, I don't really look at it. We do them pretty regularly, not for instant business, but Bakersfield's a little big town, and so getting that brand recognition is kind of what we're doing now. We're a little more on the branding side instead of
All right,
direct.
I'm gonna give you something. Let me know if you want to use it and if it works. What we did is we used to send postcards out with those, you know, the little aspirin packets that have like one aspirin in it. We used to
Yeah,
attach it to the postcard and we used to say a frustration-free property manager. We get rid of your headaches, something like that. And it was we actually got one client from it. You know, we didn't do too many. I think we did one rollout. Got one client literally because he goes, I'm actually calling you just because of your postcard. So, you know, you can't just
that's
send a
clever.
postcard. You got to be a little like you got to have a little flair to it, you know?
No, that's super clever.
Yep.
I
So
like that.
it's
Yeah,
your,
and our whole thing is stress free. So like on our website and everything, it's again another thing we honed in on is like why are we better? What do we do differently? And from like selling, managing, construction, remodels, like all of that is all integrated, and it's really to keep them like, hey, this was a pain-free experience. This was really easy,
I
and
had,
I'm like,
I had
glad
a,
it was for you.
yeah, right. I had a business coach that he taught me, he's like, you'd never be better, be different. And you
Yeah,
just reiterated that. And your differentiator is you're all in one stop shop.
yeah,
I can help you find a deal. I'll help you lease the deal. I'll manage the deal. And I could do the maintenance on it. I could do a rehab on it. And I can evict them and I can find you more deals.
yep,
All right. So, how you grow your business? Obviously, marketing is a big part of it, but it's not the only part of growing. How do you reduce churn? Like, like a lot of people think I got to keep getting new clients, and I ran into this for a little bit where I was getting new clients, but I was losing clients as well. What do you think is kind of the because churn happens, right? I think the average is like 20% year over year churn in this industry. So what are some of the things that you would counsel people on? Here's what you need to do to kind of reduce churn.
huge problem. It's again another thing that we track heavily. We see why the churn from us to another property manager extraordinarily low. It has happened, but like we know exactly why before it's coming and all of that.
Right, bad churn, they're unhappy with you, so they go to another company.
The natural churn, we're selling our property, we're moving back into the property, we don't want to be landlords. All of those, if you find a way to stop that, you let me know.
Yeah, no, you're not going to stop that. Yeah.
The name of the game is just more clients, newer clients, staying on top of it, but it's a constant grind.
I will say the churn of people moving back into the property. Yep, I get that. But the churn of saying I don't want to be an investor anymore, that really is bad churn if you think about it,
Yeah,
because they're not happy with the results they're getting. Now, whether it's like they just bought a bad house and it's never going to cash flow and that's all they care about, but it could also be a reflection of how we're running our businesses.
for
That
sure. Yeah, we look into that too. We have some that um it's not really a bad churn, but it kind of is. They'll leave because they want to self-manage.
Oh yeah,
Most of
that's bad churn.
those,
Yeah, that's because
most of those,
you did such a good job that they make it sound so easy that even a caveman can do it.
right. And the tenant pay, they're like, tenant pays on time, like they don't complain. Like, I'm just gonna do it myself. Like, well, can we do anything no, I'm just gonna try to, I'm like, and these are mom and pop people that, you know, Maybe they do have a great tenant that stays 10 years, or maybe, and we've had some call us back in a year, hey, that tenant moved out, like I want to re-sign up. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. He actually I think he connected the management agreement with the lease agreement. So you couldn't leave management as long as it was under lease. And then before you actually renewed the lease, you had to give like a 90-day notice when the lease renewal is happening to say that you want to cancel, and then they wouldn't do the lease renewal. And it obviously kept a lot of people connected. But if somebody doesn't want to stay and they want to self-manage and they become unhappy, that becomes difficult situation for your staff, I would think.
Yeah, and they're not really unhappy. It's typically the I want to either give it a shot on my own, or I have a really good tenant that you guys found for me. And we do the same thing. It's tied to management's tied to the lease, and they have to give this notice, and still you'll just have people like, hey, I've actually gone over there and talked to the tenant, and Becky's just gonna pay me from now on, we can't solve that problem. It's just it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, given great service, typically people don't leave because it's so easy. It happens. When it happens, it's
Yeah.
incredibly frustrating. But mostly your churn rate is going because people are just unhappy. How do you make people happy?
Um, a great question.
How does Ascend do it? How does this because look, you're making people happy. You have 1,500 units. There's a lot of happy people. You guys probably only focus on the 20% or the 10% that call you every day to tell you they're unhappy. But the silent majority is happy. And what are you guys doing to provide that happiness to them? And you got all those great Google reviews. So we know you have a lot of happy people.
Yeah. Um, I just I treat it again like I'm probably gonna sound dumb on this whole podcast, but we just are very rudimentary in like what makes people happy. What does a tenant want from their property manager? To be left alone. They pay their rent. They don't want a bunch of notices and issues. And again, that's the 80% of people. The 20%, yeah, they get notices, they're not paying rent, their issues, stuff like that. But the people that rent a nice house in a nice area and
I would
just
think
they
I would think the number one thing for residents is uh is maintenance, right? Like if maintenance when I call, if maintenance is responded to very quickly, it gets done within so many days. And I'm not getting nickel and dimed or I got to pay like a fee like I would think that's probably the number one um, way to
for
keep
sure.
those guys happy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the maintenance is huge. And that's another reason why we have it in house. My maintenance department's really, really good.
I'm
And
getting
so
you
if
back on. We're going to debate this one.
we have third party. I mean, I've done the third party thing, and we did the whole markup and all of that. So I hear you. And certain categories are definitely easier. AC, very specialty things, stuff like that for sure. But
I'm going to ask you one maintenance question. Do you think there is a number of properties that you have to manage before you bring maintenance in-house? Like you're
it
not going
depends
to
on
bring it in-house if you have 10 properties, right? Like there's got to be a threshold, I would think.
it depends on your goal. Um, if you have 300 properties, and that could certainly sustain one guy, and then your owners are happier. The other really like tenant evictions very easy to do a third party for. A turnover that has not only like drywall damage, but also the cabinet's broken and the dishwasher doesn't work and these lights are out. I mean, we're not going to call an electrician, a dishwasher guy, a cabinet guy. Only scenario there is calling a contractor to schedule it all. And you know this, contractor is very expensive.
And they get more expensive by the day. Yeah.
So it's the control, but then it's also, we do a quote. So the other thing we do is when a tenant moves out, the next day they have a quote of here's what's wrong and here's a quote. My staff walks it.
That's
Quotes are
pretty that's pretty good, man. To be able to
yeah,
walk up the next day, that's a wow experience right there.
for sure. And then we quote it. And they always ask, are you high, are you low because you're a contractor? And I give this example perfectly. A plumber is going to charge you 125 bucks an hour. A handyman is going to charge you 20, we're dead middle. We're right there in the middle at 65. And I'm like, okay, like I can get behind that. I'm like,
Yep.
if you're okay with that, you don't have to walk the property. You just say this is approved. We take care of it. Move the new tenant in.
Makes it easier. Makes it.
Super easy. Then we use that quote for tenant deposits and like
All right, we're gonna
again.
get. I actually put a note here to get you on another pod. So we're
Okay.
gonna talk. We're gonna go really deep and we're kind of up against it. So any words of wisdom, parting words of wisdom on the growth aspect, and that's all we could do 2-3 hours on growth. But any words of wisdom like, hey, I'm listening to this. I'm having a hard time growing. I want to start growing. What's a couple of things that you would recommend?
Patience. I would assume it's somebody that hasn't been doing it for 10 years that's saying that. Do really good work every single day for 10 years.
You know what's funny, man? Our SEO for VPM is just now starting to work. Do you know when I created the business? 2020. I started doing SEO in 2020.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree, but some of us just can't survive without
Yeah.
getting some new business. So patience
I
is
hear you.
key. What can I do short term?
Short term. Um, I mean, here's a great analogy. If I gave somebody 100 clients tomorrow, they would figure out the process to keep 100 clients happy if that's their goal.
Mhm.
They're saying, I don't know how to get 100 clients. All of your time and energy needs to be going to get 100 clients every single hour of every single day. If you're dealing with calls or issues or whatever, deal with that for maybe an hour or two and then pay somebody else to do it. So all of your focus is really on the other stuff. If you can't pay somebody to do it, then I mean, your after hours time, like I'm not exaggerating. I was a workhorse, and we didn't talk about the financial aspect of everything. Um, but I sold a vehicle to keep the company in business. Like I did not have rent to cover for. I mean, it was hard
Yeah, well,
times.
when your number one client got 200 doors, you're not charging any management fees. I can't imagine why you need to sell your vehicle.
So I mean, it's grind. Just grind for way longer than you think you need to, and in 10 years you'll look back and go, "Wow, like this." I'm now supporting 25 employees that have families.
And listen to this podcast, go to the NARPM events, join the Facebook groups, find other mentors, find guys like Nick that, have been there, done that have walked the path. This way you can, model, as Tony Robbins calls it, and you can skip some steps potentially. Nick, we are up against it. I do want to meet with you again. We need to become best friends. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
Email, you can email me, nickboone@gmail.com.
And that's NIKBOONE
Yep.
at gmail.com. And if you are listening to this and you are not a part of NARPM, you can go to narpm.org or give them a call at 800-782-3452. And if you are in the market and you are looking for remote team members, give us a shot, vpmsolutions.com. We have 43,000 plus people looking for work looking for work in the property management field. You can go to vpmsolutions.com or give me an email at pete@vpmsolutions.com. Nick, thanks for your time. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Pete. Had a blast.